Just want to welcome everybody back. We're on the air. We signed another contract with our sponsors. I want to thank our sponsors. Of course, we'll be paying locally throughout the day. Without them, this won't be possible. So I want to thank them for coming on board again for another year. Our guest in studio today, I'm a little rusty. Today consists of Donna Rayner, the president of the International Athletic Association. Of course, they've got the annual events, the birthday games in April, that's usually around Easter time, and a number of other international events on tap for 2019 and pretty nearly 2020 to the Olympics. Just on, I think World Championships are on the corner as well. No, it's this year, right? It is this year. So we'll be talking to Ms. Rayner on that, and we have Mr. Calvin Benkendale joining us in the studio, as well as Mr. David Lambert, from the Mountain Association former president, and I think their president who will be joining us in the studio today. And we have was it Simone Barton? She'll be joining us. Sienna. Sorry, my mom. So will be joining us in the studio regarding jump rope and things of that nature we discussed today and various other topics. So, get right to it. Before we go any further, I want to say good afternoon to Ms. Rayner. How you doing?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Bermuda. Happy 2019.
All is good?
All is well.
Good, good. So, what's on tap thus far with the CRIF? How are things looking for the annual event for Bermuda?
Well, Carifta this year is going to be April 20th to 22nd. It's in the Cayman Islands this year. We've only had one or two track meets so far this year. We have two athletes that have met the qualifying standard, Lydia Upton in high jump, and Caitlin Bob she lives in the U.S. Her mom's Joanne Douglas, who represented Bermuda at the Olympics. She's really doing some fantastic things in the U.S. in the 1, 200, and 400 meters. So she has met the qualifying standard indoor. Our hope this year is that we have around 15 between athletes that will qualify and go to the Olympics this year. So preparations are in motion. We have another meet this weekend. We're looking at taking a team to the U.S. to compete in the AAU meet early part of March. So we really want to make sure that we have our athletes prepared for the competition this year. We have a couple of athletes overseas that we're hoping also meet the standards.
With that said, you've been at the helm for your life. I mean, you were a former athlete yourself in the 400, I think it was, and you represented me at numerous international events. You went to university and you mastered track and field. Now you're the president. You've been there for quite some time. What's it been like? What's the challenge each year as wearing the head as the president of the National Athletic Association? What is your biggest challenge aside from the athletes qualifying for the international events? What's the biggest challenge?
Well, I'm sure every or any association will say this. The biggest challenge, of course, is funding. We have so many events that we have to send our athletes to. We have uniforms that we have to purchase. So, I mean, the number one is finances. The other challenge that we have it's two challenges. Number one, keeping women involved in the sport, and the second one is once the athletes graduate from university, keeping them in the sport as professional athletes. We have to figure out a way of what can we do to motivate them to stay into the sport, so by the time we get to Pan Am Games, the Olympic Games, and so on and so forth, we still have a pretty good number of athletes that's participating in those events.
So just like every other sport, the challenges after age 16, 17 is keeping our local athletes in track and field motivated.
Exactly. Probably later than that, probably around 18, 19. As I said, once they go off to university, they got a university scholarship, and then what's next? Mm-hmm. And, so our challenge is, what can we do to motivate them to stay in the sport? And I mean, it's very difficult because, you have to find funding. You have to be able to get into these professional and international meets. And that's not easy as well, because you've got to be at a certain standard. So that's the hardest part, is how can we make sure we have the funds to assist our athletes in competing, traveling the world. Because as you know, the best events are in Europe. Mm-hmm. And to get to Europe is not cheap, is not easy. So that's kind of the challenge that we have. How can we help our elite athletes to stay in the sport and to get the competition that they need to get to reach that level of, becoming an Olympian.
We won't be we won't be alone in the Caribbean with this sort of scenario that keeping the athletes involved, are we? Because in your talks with others, they would probably have similar challenges as well.
I think the smaller islands probably have the similar challenges to us. I mean, when you talk about Jamaica, you talk about Bahamas, they send a pretty healthy team to World Championships, to Pan Am, to the Olympics. I think we're probably in the same bucket as places like Cayman Islands. Even Barbados is probably a little bit ahead of us as well. But as you said, the smaller islands are in a similar position as we are. What can we do to keep our athletes motivated? For some of the islands, their athletes are staying in the U.S., and they're able to compete. They're able to win prize money, travel to some of these meets. Some of them are invited to the meets. When you reach a certain level, you get an invitation. They pay for your travel. They pay for your accommodations. So we need to get our athletes to that level. Tyrone was at that level. He got invited to several, not wars, but he is at that level where he gets invitations.
Diamond League and
yes,
so forth. Yeah.
Exactly.
Last summer, you were looking to bring in an event, but unfortunately didn't prosper for various reasons. Are we looking to bring in another international event aside from just competing in the events you mentioned moments ago?
Well, we had the permit meet for, I think it was 3 years. The first year was fantastic. Financially, it went well. But for the last 2 years, it's been not great from our standpoint, from a financial standpoint. So for this year, we have decided not to have it this year, because what our goal is right now is to get ourselves on a decent financial footing. So there are several things that we've had to do, to eliminate things. And I'm sure you heard the hype about, the weekend that we had last weekend. We just had to sit around the table and decide, okay, we need to make sure we're not going in the hole this year for all of the events that we're having. So we had to decide, okay, what are the things that we can eliminate to make sure that we end up balanced across the board financially. So the permit meet was one. It wasn't being fruitful. We had all these payments that we had to make out to the athletes, prize money and so on and so forth. So it's like, okay, this year, let's just leave it alone. So basically our goal this year is to get ourselves in a much better financial position than we were in the last 1 or 2 years.
To host an event like the permit meet, cost, can you give me a ballpark figure?
The cost of the permit meet last year, if I remember correctly, it's like over $250,000, because you've got to pay for the athletes to come in. You've got to pay for their accommodations. You have to offer up prize money, to put on the meet. We have to pay National Sports Center for the event. So when you start adding up all the costs, which also includes food, you have to take care of these athletes. I mean, these are elite athletes. So you have to take care of everything for these athletes. On top of that, you want to advertise the event, and I think you all know how much advertising costs are. So once you add all of that in, then we've got to have transportation, because we've got to transport these athletes. We can't bring them here and then say, well, you figure out a way to get to the track. So we've got to hire transportation, buses, minivans, or whatever. That's a cost. And for the event to be interesting, you've got to have, your DJ, you've got to have time, it's so many things that you have to put together for an international event. Also, from the IAAF, there are rules. If you have a permit meet, these are the things that have to be in place. They even tell us how much the prize money has to be. So we can't say, well, you know what, we only have $100,000, so we're going to distribute it. No, the IAAF sends out a document and says, this is the level of prize money that we expect if you are putting on a permit meet.
So that's $250 over 3 days, if I'm correct?
No,
it's one day. It's a one-day event.
1 day, exactly. 3 hours.
1 day, 3 hours, exactly.
Yeah. But what is also, and I alluded to it,
that hurts me.
The athletes come in 2 days before.
That's what I mean.
Transport them for training.
So you got to pay for the hotel. You basically are paying 4 days for them at the hotel.
Yeah.
And depending on the time of the year we have it, we don't get really great hotel rates. So you've got to, and then you're talking about bringing in what we had last year. It was about 30-something athletes.
Right.
Now multiply that by 4 days, accommodation, airfare, food, transportation.
It costs.
It adds up. Exactly. And if you don't get a viable sponsor, then pretty much it's all on us. And you're hoping that people come to the event, the gate fee. And for the last couple of years we haven't had the stadium full. So the first year it was full, but the last 2 years just didn't seem to catch on.
We often see the challenge of our athletes qualifying for Carifta, no matter how many meets you guys have. Any thought of maybe not having so many and try to, I don't know if you could double up, because I remember a few years ago you guys were having track meets evenings. You were having just to help people qualify as it got down to the wire. Any thoughts of kind of condensing a 2-week meet into a one? You understand what I'm trying to say? No. Because you have meets every.
We have meets. We haven't had a meet since.
Right. But coming up, you will start having meets regularly.
We'll have them regularly, right?
Right.
But it's up to the coach and the athlete to decide: do we want to compete in every meet, or do we want to compete in one meet and train for another meet? And remember, we have a very short window between now and April 20th. It's not a whole lot of time. In between that, you have inter-school sports.
Yes.
Inter-school sports, you've got the school sports, then you've got the regional, then you've got the inter-school sports.
Yeah.
So within that period, we don't have any meets. We can't put on any meets.
Right.
But what we've done is said, if the athletes qualify in those meets,
meet the standards,
then we will accept the standard.
They're at the stadium.
Exactly. So, most of them are at the stadium. So, as long as you have, the persons that know, and right now, Mr. Rayner, he helps up with all of those events. So we've got, correct timing and so on and so forth. We usually make sure there's officials with the high jump, long jumps to make sure that all those distances are measured. So it's difficult to take out any of the meets. Like I said, what we're trying to do this year is send them to a meet in March.
Right.
Fortunately, we were able to, put a proposal together to the IAAF, and they gave us some funding for Carifta Prep.
Okay.
So we're using that, to send some of these athletes to this meet early March.
Okay.
So,
are you looking at ones that have qualified or ones that are on the border of qualifying?
Both on the border and ones that have qualified. But I mean, the other thing is that we talk about Carifta. We've got a very busy year. We've got Pan Am Games in August. So that's our elite athletes that we've got to focus on. We've got World Championships. Which is September 28th to October 6th. That's in Doha. So I mean, again, if we have athletes. Basically what happens with the World Championships is that they'll say, okay, I'll give you 2 free tickets. Right. So if we get 6 athletes that qualify, we have to pay for the other 4.
Right.
So, like I said, once we get Carifta out of the way, then we have to start kind of focusing on our senior athletes.
Do you think having Youth Olympics, Youth Commonwealth, now being announced, Youth Pan Ams and stuff, is more of an incentive for these guys to stay involved?
It is, and I think from a regional standpoint, they're adding in much more junior meets. NACAC, the calendar is full and overflowing.
Yes.
The IAAF are doing the same thing. The Olympic Committee is doing the same thing. So that's one of the things I think that they're looking at doing. Putting in more youth meets, more under 23 meets, which are really geared towards those university students as they're getting ready to graduate.
Right.
We have an under 23 meet that you guys can now go to. So I think it's great, but from a financial standpoint, it's difficult. Right. I mean, we kind of have to go to the calendar and say, which meets do we think are the most important, and that's where we're going to focus our finances. So some of those meets we may miss out on because of the funding. We even have university games this year. So, we have all our athletes in university because we think that event is a great event, the university games, because again, it's getting the athletes from university, and competing in a professional event. So that's another one of the events that we have on our calendar. Then on top of that, this is election year.
Yeah.
So NACAC has their elections this year, and the IAAF have elections. So we've just got a whole lot going on, not just on the athletic side, but on the administrative side as well.
Credit to the National Athletic Association that they're providing these international events for their athletes. The unfortunate part is that it comes down to funding. There was a time when we said, well, we need to take our athletes and put them in these events because obviously we wasn't being involved. But now you're involved in these events, it comes down to funding. So for those who are listening and those who want to help out, I mean, the sponsorship comes in and takes the athlete, our local athletes, to the next level. What, aside from Clifton and Pan Am Games, overall, like your budget, man, for a year, if you're gonna able to put on an event like this, including say the permit, it's over $1 million.
You've got it.
1.5. I can see that.
You have it. You've got it. And as I said, we try to put on some fundraising as well throughout the year. As you know, we get a grant from government. Unfortunately, most of the time that grant goes right back to paying for National Sports Center. So that comes in our hand and goes right back to government's hand because it goes right back to National Sports Center because we have to pay for the use of the sports center. Fortunately, we have several athletes on the Bermuda Olympic Association elite list. So those athletes got to get, some events that are taken care of. So we're able to reach into that fund and get some of the funding for these athletes, especially Pan Am Games. Definitely, we get funding if the athletes, say, have 3 or 4 events that they can receive funding from the Olympic Association, then we would use it for like the university games. So we juggle, but we try to make it work because, my goal as the president is I had the opportunities when I was coming up. And my thing is all these other athletes that are coming up, I want them to have the similar opportunities, go to university, travel to all these international meets. So that at the end of the day is my goal of being president of the BNAA is I've had the opportunities. I've been through this program. It's made me the success that I am. I would like to see other athletes. I even started working with Natasha. She ran track, and her and I met at the football symposium. And so I've now invited her to, come and sit in on a couple of the women in sport meetings that we have and to kind of get her involved because, as I said, there are so many things out there. I mean, even me being the president, I get to travel to all these IAAF events. I'm now on an IAF committee. I'll probably run for a position for NACAC this year because the more that we're in, the more that we can help to shape the sport in our region, in the world. So there are just so many opportunities, and I would like to see our athletes gain some of those opportunities. So we basically do what we can to make sure that we get them to Pan Am Games. Make sure, even if it's just 2 athletes, that they go to World Championships. For Carifta, we send as many as we can.
Okay.
What are the chances of having a group in the World Relays this year?
No, World Relays this year is in Tokyo. So we're the other side of the world, and so it's probably not even practical for us to send a team over there. I mean, Bahamas, when it was in Bahamas, that was a little bit more, but now you're talking about the other side of the world. So I'm not even sure how that's going to end up working out for the IAAF, having the relays so far away. People have to travel. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all ends up panning out, but that's a little much for us.
Understood. Before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add that we did not ask?
No, like I said, I just want, the people of Bermuda to know that us at the BNAA are doing the best. Like I said, we continually promote our sport. We continually promote our athletes. As I said, our goal is to give these athletes as many opportunities as they can. As you know, every year we have tons of athletes going off to universities on athletic scholarships. And we will continue to do that. So our goal is opportunities for the athletes as much as we can, as many as we can. And, hopefully when they come back, they're able to give back to this sport the same as we're doing.
I have one question before we go. How is 2020 shaping up for Clifton and Bermuda?
We're still waiting for a response.
A response. Okay.
And when is the deadline for that response?
Well, I have to know before I go to Carifta in April because
So you got
I
4
have to
months.
make a presentation of how far we are, or I have to say to them, sorry, can't do it. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case.
There'd be okay, cut my mic off. But anyway, that.
Well,
Hopefully we don't get to that point.
Yes.
we'll be the last hosted the event when?
2012.
2012.
We've done
Yes.
every time we've hosted, it's been an Olympic year.
It's been well, right, and
That's
I
right,
have a
yeah.
and I have a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because we get extra funding,
Yeah.
so that's the other reason I do it.
All right, so 2024, I got you. Or 2028, got you. Well, thank you, President Rayner. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
You got challenges like every other sporting governing body in
Exactly.
Bermuda. It's so funny. It's funny, but it's not funny that we want to put so much into sports. We say this is the way forward for all our athletes, male or female, but yet it's comes down to funding. And it's no secret, but hopefully we can see some light at the end of the tunnel where you can have your athletes participate overseas
Exactly.
and be a part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will be back with you about another month or so, month and a half.
Yes, we will. Talking about another event,
Yeah.
the Bermuda Olympic Association event.
And then another one. Is it well, it's the same one actually. Women's
Women in
sports.
sports.
How's that going?
It's to be honest with you, that event I'm really pleased with. We've had a bunch of sponsors jump on board. We have confirmed the speakers for the banquet. We're just confirming our panelists. The advertising will pretty much start today. We've got our poster done, so we're getting ready to send that out. But everything is coming together. March 8th and March 9th are the days. The banquet's on the 8th and the expo's on the 9th. So I'm very, very pleased with how this is coming together.
Okay. All right. Well, we have you back on board to talk about that.
Exactly.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
We'll
right.
go to commercial break and we'll be back with Mr. Calvin Blankenbell. Okay.
Yeah, we.
Welcome back, gentlemen. Hey, well, you're great. Not a problem. It's all good. Take a seat, Mr. Blankendale. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, sir?
All is well?
Yeah.
How you doing, sir? Yeah.
At least he's being polite. He has manners, right?
Yeah, it's a new year.
How you doing, bro?
I'm fine. This one?
Yeah. Go ahead. You got some exciting news you'd like to share with us? Yeah, you want?
Sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I would say exciting or reoccurring news, but we're always trying to raise the bar and offer opportunities to young student athletes in their sport of choice as we're expanding. So this year, or in the next few weeks or 2 weeks, we'll be having a student athlete development camp, and groundbreaking is for all females. I have to be upfront. The sign-up's a little bit slow, so it actually asks for all the females that are interested in learning about their sport, learning about another sport, but also showcasing their talent in front of overseas recruiters, coaches, athletic directors to sign up for the camp. It's for you. We've always put on for the boys, and we've received some requests from parents who have females, and then we've decided to give them an opportunity, and we're just hoping that they take full advantage of this. The sports that we are offering are field hockey, basketball, and football or soccer, and it's all about the student athletes learning about what it takes to be a collegiate student athlete from the female's perspective, and also improving their ability and technical side of the sport here. And it's also going to be holistic, so we know that females have a different makeup than the boys. We've noticed that the boys just want to go out there on the pitch and run around and kick a ball, and with the females, we actually know that we can deal with them a little bit more holistically. So we're looking to have some forums and workshops about safe social media usage, the way they can interact or safeguard themselves if they go overseas on college campuses, different life skills seminars for women about self-respect, noting that in this day and age, what we were used to as coming up as being respectful to a young lady or how a young lady should carry themselves. It's a different timeline now. So we just want successful young women in Bermuda that if they've played the sport or not, they're going to be conducting those workshops and interacting with our young student athletes.
The fact that we have so many young ladies doing rather well in multiple sports, how do you see this fitting in with sort of schools? Because that's the ultimate goal, is you got these coaches coming down and helping them progress to the next step or next journey in life, which is obviously a college or university scholarship and or career, getting that next step. How does this fit into the actual school structure locally that helps them progress to the next stage?
Well, the first part of this is to offer the same opportunity for males. So it's something that's come out of North America that, if you offer a sport, it should be offered to females as well. I think locally, we note that females do play sports, but we have a tendency to put them on the back burner because it's not as well attended or exciting. But we have to recognize that as of late, especially in multiple sports, the young ladies have been excelling or outperforming the males. So they have to be put on the front burner. We also know that academically, and that's a given statistically, that the females are doing quite well. They're getting the scholarships, they're getting the awards, they are going overseas and advancing above their peer group, no matter if they're competing against locals or if they're going to compete against their North American partners. In all distinctions, it's academic, athletic, and even on the entrepreneurial side. What this adds locally is that we can keep more female students engaged and involved in the sport. We know there's a drop-off after 14, so now if there's an avenue for them to remain engaged with opportunities, because our young people are smart. If you say come to something and there's no carrot at the end, they're not going to come. So the carrot is you're going to learn more about the sport. Hopefully you can also participate in another sport that you're not used to. So field hockey is not a mainstream sport, but if there are more individuals that may be playing soccer and at one point they're like, oh, soccer is not for me anymore. I'm not as quick or as swift, but I can play field hockey. Basketball is another opportunity, and also to learn what it means to be a student athlete to go overseas. We have a lot of seminars, but primarily they geared towards the boys, or boys come out because females sometimes do not want to sit in the same room or be on the same pitch as the boys. And so we're trying to give them their own space. We do need the females to come out, because if it's not as successful as we would like for it to be, then from our promotional model and the business model, we have to go back to the boys. So it's for the females that are asking for this to actually come out and show that they do want more attention and do more support.
There was a time in us gentlemen here, we were in our sports careers, that we wanted to go to prep school. Now it's called development, right? And then the development came about where we just had the focus on males, and now you got the emphasis on the females. And yes, you alluded to that the development is there for us, but do we really understand the program that you're bringing to Bermuda? Like the fortunate part where it wasn't offered here 5 years ago, right? What you're doing is something significant, and there's an opportunity for young females to really hop on board, and especially at the ages of between 8 and 16. We went, with us, it was like 15, 16, but now you got 8, the ages 8 to 16.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
We're talking about development. So when student athletes are 16 or 15 in Bermuda, they start thinking about college. That's very late.
Correct.
Some of them will make it, but by the time that you think about college at that age, you're far behind. Because students in North America, they've already sent letters, requests, done the coursework to coaches. So coaches have already identified them and just waiting for the opportunity they can approach them. We think that we can get in the line with 500 other students, and because we're Bermudian, we're going to go to the front because we have money to technically pay for college. When it comes to recruitment, it doesn't work like that. So if the coaches have received 250 letters, emails, scholarship applications, he has to be very in tune to you, or know about you, or know about your coach, or just have an affiliation with the island to say, I'm going to actually go 100%. We're all human. You read 250 essays and you're marking 251. You might, oh man, I know what it's about. We're all going to drop off at one point. So this is about introducing the coaches to our athletes, but also the athletes to know what it takes to go overseas. But development happens in stages. So development is continuous. So this is a story I tell to parents. Your son or daughter goes to primary school, they're doing their math and English into P6. When they get to middle school, they're doing a little bit more. And when they get to high school, you say, okay, he knows what to do, they go to school. If you don't pay attention to them, they drop off.
Correct.
And then we ask ourselves, why were our students so bad in primary school or middle school and in high school? Because no one's paying attention to them. We think they're mature enough to do it on their own, but they're not. That's the same way as coaching. I identify you as a track star in primary school. I assist you into middle school. And high school, I don't really coach you anymore because I think you're good enough. So when you come back 4 years later, you haven't advanced. So if you stop development, the individual stops growing. And that's mentally, socially, physically.
Is that because our programs don't offer that development at the age of 16? Because they were doing the development we got to along. And I'm saying that regarding the schools, because in schools, when we were coming along, the PE teacher was renowned for football, cricket, track and field hockey, whatever. They're saying now that the gym teachers don't offer that.
Well, I mean, if you look,
and the programs don't offer it in school spirit.
Schools schools offer sports, but at the end of the day, the sport is not being used as frequently or performed as frequently. So when we were coming along, sports was like daily bread in schools. It was in the classroom, out in the field, learning everything from your PE teacher. And now students have the opportunity, I believe, to opt for a semester of a sport.
Right.
So sports is not all year round. So if you're not doing sports all year round, you're going to focus on a lot more sports. Now we had football, cricket, track and field, long distance, netball. That was it, softball.
Right.
Now you have lacrosse, squash, everything. So you can only do like a week or two in particular sports. Right?
So then where's the development? That's where our development's dropping.
Well, yeah, and development is dropping as well because at the end of the day, there are less females doing sports on the island. So if there are less females and there are less competitive outlets for them to do it locally, not everyone can travel overseas. Not every female is going to be part of the national team or the best in the school. So if there are less numbers, then of course as humans we drop our standards at sometimes, because if I know there's only 11 and you need 11 on a team, I know I really don't have to go to training. I know I really don't have to perform my best because you're going to automatically pick me. So we need a larger pool of individuals to not only for schools, but also for our national programs. So hopefully bringing females together so that they can actually see it's fun first, that they can enjoy it, that they can see there's something they can do and use them for the rest of their life and actually get an education out of it. Everyone needs.
So this program that you're putting together, the Old Girls 2019 International Student Athlete Development Academy Program, is something that can take an advantage of for kids, again, females between the ages of 8 to 16 that can really enhance something like this, where you get an opportunity to meet people from Virginia, it says Texas here, Canada, Georgia State University. How are you able to bring this all together, Cal?
Well, I have to admit, it's always been a partnership between Dr. Lou Simmons, Dennis Brown, and myself and others, and then Troy Barkley. So for those that don't know, and I have not spoken to his mom, I do apologize, but it's been on the social media and in the local community. We know that Mr. Troy Barkley recently passed away this weekend. Troy and I have been talking offline for at least the last year and a half, because he was very influential in having found at least 20 scholarships for local student athletes over the past 4 or 5 years. Troy drew his personal battle with diabetes. Had a stop-start go with that. We talked for at least a year and a half, and in the last 6 months, he actually said, "I'm going to do it again, Cal." And I said, "I'm glad, because I have a piece, Dennis has a piece, Dr. Lou Simmons has a piece, but you have a major piece. You have the connection with the international world, because no matter how good you are locally, if a coach overseas doesn't know who you are, you're not going to go that far. And if you're not able to travel all the time in high competitive meets, you're not going to be able to showcase your talent." But Troy, his personality, you know, Troy was amazing. I mean, even up until his passing, and I saw him for the last 4 or 5 days last week, and there was no indication that he was going to pass. I mean, he wasn't at that level, so I don't want to speak too much for his family, but good spirits. And Troy would just say, "Cal, I woke up and they found 2 more coaches." And I'm like, "How?" He said, "I just called him and spoke to him, and they told him what the island has to offer, and the rest is on you." And Troy's gift of communicating with people. I've said, "Troy, this person, I just met him. Well, why are you talking to him like that?" "Well, I'm Bermudian, right?" Troy has that smile, and we talk, and that's Troy. And it's sad for his passing, because he was so influential, but he was so humble. So Troy, if I didn't come on the air a few times in the past, maybe 4 months, and tell you what Troy was doing, a lot of people don't know that Troy was actually probably was able to get 20 individuals into school, student athletes. Did he get recognition for that? No. Was he reimbursed for that? No. Would he have liked to have seen more recognition and being reimbursed for his efforts? Yes. But at the end of the day, he still continued until his passing, offering his services to Bermudians and young people, male and female. And some have gone on to represent Bermuda nationally. Some have gone on to graduate in their career choice, and some are still in school due to Troy Barkley. So he is a unspoken giant, and someone who led the way in student athlete recruitment to international colleges.
How are you going to fill his shoes?
Well, the good thing about it is we talked, and I just had another meeting this morning about collaborating with another individual, and it was all about, as Bermudians, sometimes we work in silo. We have a piece of the puzzle, but we don't want to share, because we're afraid if we share, someone's going to take our piece.
But Troy, you guys
and Troy was like, "Okay, Cal, I know I could do some part, but you're really good at this, and Dennis is good at that." And so I was able to get a little bit of the information that he had. He was open to sharing, but we talked about actually today, when he left the hospital, we talked about, "I'm going to give you the weekend off, Troy. Relax, catch yourself, and we'll meet up today." So, there's information that he was able to pass on to me, but he gave me the blueprint. And I mean, me, Dennis, Braun, Lucy, he gave us the blueprint. He showed how we can actually communicate with coaches overseas and what they're looking for. And Troy was doing it in all sports. He showed me documents where he was able to get someone a golf scholarship, from Bermuda. I mean, not even as someone that didn't even play golf.
That's true.
Troy just knew how to tick all the boxes and what was required, the times and requirements for track and field. So my interest was football, but Troy showed me that education is not just about football. It's about anyone that's doing the sport of their choice. And Dennis Brown said that many years ago as well. So that led me to indirectly forming Bermuda Sports Management Group, because it wasn't just a football program. It's about any athlete that wants to go overseas and learn using your academic intellect and your athletic skill sets to grow yourself and to get the opportunities. So yeah, it's going to be difficult to fill those shoes, but I had a meeting just by chance this morning with just someone else who has a large piece of the puzzle in preparing individuals for collegiate opportunities academically. And we just have to keep, as Bermudians, we have to drill it all into the pot and work together.
Sure. We got news coming at the top of the hour, so we're going to take another commercial break, and I hope you can still join us after this so we can talk a bit more, because we got more guests coming to the studio.
Definitely.
But keep up the good work. We're going to take a commercial break and be back just after about 5 or 6 minutes past 7.
some form of athletic bursary. But more importantly, if that doesn't happen due to athletics, they will still have a higher GPA because we're trying to push the GPA is the first and foremost way that you're going to get off the island to go to college. So now if the GPA is 1.9, it should be 2.3 average. If it's going to be 2.3, it should be a 2.7. And if you're at a 2.7, your focus should be on a 3.0 or higher.
Right.
And we have some good footballers. I'm not saying great, there are some good footballers. I spoke to a young man. He has a 3.5. That's an easy sell to college.
For sure.
He's not the best football player, but he can definitely make a collegiate team. He might not be a D1, but he can definitely play D2. So 3.5 skills be throwing money at you.
Right.
And then we have some that are 1.9, but they can get to a 2.2, and junior colleges will go for them as well. So now they're off the island in a good environment, going at their own pace and speed, and then the next 2 years, can they now go to a school that has a more advanced program, or at least go and finish their degree at a 4-year school?
Do we understand how fortunate you are and your organization is bringing on an event like this to enhance our athletes, males, females, first of all, say that, because of what you're providing? Because financially, it's not an easy task. 2, academics, as you mentioned moments ago. Some are just on the cusp of not making it or making it and cannot maybe afford a tutor. And this is where your program comes into play, not just for the sporting part, but for the academics. That's why I'm asking, do we understand how important it is and the opportunity that you're presenting for our athletes?
No. And I would say, based on what I'm offering, or Dennis Brown, the Brazilian football school, I think we still take academics for granted in Bermuda. You go anywhere else in the world, the first things they focus on is learning. In Bermuda, we're focusing on playing the sport, but recognizing we don't have a 4-year institution, so you first and foremost, to get off the island, is all about learning first and then showcasing your athletic talent. So it's a little disconnect. But as far as, Brazilian football school is a public-private partnership with Bermuda Sports Management Group, and we are registered as a charity, so we've had the pleasure now of joining with Hiscox and Sal One, Supreme Transportation Limited, and also Pitt & Co. or BGA. They've come on board to support these events. So there are corporate partners and small businesses on the island that see the value in having our student athletes and primarily females receive their due and attention, and to give them the opportunity to go overseas and perform as well. I'm going to go back to Sakari, no, not Sakari, Sakari Turner. The Brina Turner, good friend of mine. We went to the Great Works Act, Vision, Vigor, Victory. I'm going to drop that in there.
Was it Whitney?
No, Work Secondary.
Oh, okay.
So our daughter, it wasn't a newspaper. It wasn't brand news. She wanted to play football. Her mom wasn't sure. Her mom came to me as a friend. I said, give her a chance. She wasn't football inclined. We put her in girl because she had a no-nonsense attitude. To date, she is now at IMG on a scholarship. IMG recruited her. Yeah.
Wow.
She went through the program at BHS, which opened up its doors to all girls, not just BHS girls. She was recruited into the National Academy, and now she's at IMG. So that's development from the age of 14 or 13 to now. I think she's like 16 or 17. She's now doing the sport of her choice at a high level at an institution overseas. And then I'll let her mom talk about even something else that's happening. But that's development. We have 2 young ladies now at Holland College. Samira Lowe will be starting this year, 2019, August. We have Jade Stewart, who I was able to put in touch with the school. And we have the International Athletic Director of Holland College, Mr. Albert Roach, who will be coming down for the camp. And I've spoken to him saying, you know what, it's not just about soccer. Meet track athletes, meet swimming athletes, meet hockey athletes, whatever your school needs. Bermuda has a high level of talent. So now it's not a football program. It's about anyone that has athletic talent. Go and talk to the athletic director, whether you're 13 or 17. It's about development. If you're not ready now, you can be ready next year. If you're in middle school, you can prepare and make a choice. And so that's how important this program is. This program is for Bermuda, because we all know, we read the paper every day, oh, Bermudians are not educated. We don't have the experience. It's too expensive to send them overseas to schools. This is an investment where Yes, you and your family can sit down about talking to college, how you can finance it, and in the worst case scenario, if you don't have the athletic talent, your grades will hopefully increase because you have an intrinsic interest in doing better, and you can apply for either financial aid or academic aid.
Okay.
That's what it's all about. So this is a Bermuda program for Bermudians, and it's organic. So we don't need anybody to come in to tell us that we need to go to school and everything. We have locals here that have been to college. They know the ins and outs. The only thing that we require is overseas coaches and athletic directors to learn about the talent pool that we have, to get the breakdown of the names, the grades, the profile footage, so that they can actually recruit them. But otherwise than that, the talent and how to do it is local.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Dunkendale. We wish you all the best and success. It's a great program that you're putting on. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Yes, you can reach me on 505-7999, 505-7999, WhatsApp preferred because, get a lot of messages. And then by email, which is Kelvin with a C, bda@gmail.com. So those are the two formats you can reach me in. Otherwise, if you know Mr. Dennis Brown, you can reach out to him as well. We also have a website, which is www.bermuda, spelled out in full, S for summer, M for mother, G for good.com, bermudasmg.com. You can reach us there as well. So we're hopefully looking to offer this to the young females and give them the opportunity to showcase their talent, and maybe in 4 or 5 years, that's a development we can see the young ladies off to college or sooner.
All right. Well, hopefully we can hear from you again just prior to the launch of the February 11th, 15th date, and give us an update how things are going. And again, we wish you all the best going forward.
Yes, and as I close, I want to say we have confirmed at the moment Foxcroft School, Virginia. It's an all-girls school that will be facilitating the hockey. We have Holland College that will be looking at the collegiate soccer program. We have St. Stephen's Episcopal School, that's in high school in Texas. And then we're also going to have the Albany F Basketball Association. They'll be facilitating the basketball program. And over the years, hopefully as it grows, we'll be adding more sports or more coaches to this. And we have some good things planned and wish list for 2019. And it's all about the community coming together to make it work.
Cool. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, Mr. David Lambert join us in the studio. welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Joining us in studio right now is Mr. David Lambert, who's no stranger to Bermuda. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon.
All is well?
Mr. Rollins, thank you.
My name is Ian.
Ian, okay, Ian.
And that's like
Ian
it like
Rollins
that.
and
There you go. And
Earl
Earl
Basin
Basin.
I was just mentioning to Dawn Bassett that I think it's been since last November since I've actually seen you gentlemen.
It's true.
Listen to you all the time.
Thank
But I'm actually seeing you.
Seeing you in person.
I think November was the last time. So
I
I trust you had a very pleasant holiday season.
Nice and quiet.
And
That's
I don't
why
know
I
if
like
it's too late to say Happy New Year.
No.
I get that all the time. Happy New Year. I say, hey, keep it going.
There you go. There you go.
So it's a pleasure to see you, gentlemen.
Likewise. I'm sure you've been getting up over the last 2 weeks watching some Australian.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm getting up like 4:30, 5:30 in the morning to look at this Australian tennis, and it's
over now.
It's over. Now they're talking about Indian Wells, and is Nadal going to play Indian Wells? And you know his very close Larry Allison,
that's right,
who runs that tournament. But Djokovic is.
His game is back. He's recovered from his injuries.
It's his turn. It's his turn.
It's just like
and the talk is still there, and because as you know, when it comes to the Grand Slams, and Earl Basin knows this, if it's not Federer, if it's not Djokovic, it's Nadal.
That's true.
Think about it. Think about it.
That's right in the men. That's right in the men.
And Murray was there for a while, but we've heard he's struggling, and that's a tough injury. That hip.
That's not his back. It's hip. Okay.
Could be his back. But his hurting in more than one place.
Yeah, definitely. Because he got knocked out in the first round, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, first round.
So, but thanks for having us.
Yeah, mate, not a problem. You got some exciting things coming up for this year. Right. You're still involved in tennis in Bermuda, man. You have a passion for this.
It's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explain to us what's happening.
Well, we're actually moving into our third season of the tennis program for what we call the Bermuda Treasures, and it's anyone who's now 50 years and over. We started off at 65 years and over. We work very closely with Dr. Fleming of Age Concern, and that was where we started, still there. Thanks to Dr. Fleming and her committee, they send information out to all of their members, and right now we have over 50 players registered. We start the program restarts this Wednesday, January the 30th. The time is 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We're pleased to say that we have a new location. We're now going to be holding this program at the W.E.R. Jewell Tennis Stadium at Bermuda Park. So it's grown, and we're moving to a larger facility.
Wow.
As you know, this program costs nothing to our players, to our participants, and it only costs nothing because of sponsorship. And again, we're very fortunate to have Gatorade as our lead sponsor, and of course Paul Spring and former Premier Michael Dunkley support us in that. We also have Butterfield and Velas, and with Jim Butterfield, who again supports us with product. So when our players leave, they leave with bags of healthy product, and that's
and everything else.
Right. That's what we're trying to. As I think Paul Spring was here with us a while back, and everyone is going into with the Jim Butterfield and Butterfield and Velas. They give us apples, oranges, bananas, anything that's healthy. And with Gatorade, with Paul Spring, they're also offering energy bars and healthy juices and energy drinks. So this is a big part of what this is all about. It's as we all know, 50 and over, that generation is growing.
Sure.
In Bermuda.
Yeah.
And we just want to do our little part in offering activity and healthy diet. And so that's a part of what this program is all about. Again, we've been fortunate to have a new sponsor come on board, Mr. Glenn Lake, who's the facility manager of the W.E.R. Jewell Tennis Stadium, along with the Ministry of Sport. They are allowing us to train out of that facility.
You mentioned
and they've absorbed that course.
You mentioned that new age this year, 50 and over, right?
Yes.
And as we know, over the last few years, we're saying people are living longer.
Yes.
And that's because of healthy living. And a part of it, what you're doing now, is pressing forward, saying people who are 15 over, this is an opportunity for you to exercise, be a part of this program. From 10 to 11, is it once a week? Is it twice a week?
Right now, it's once a week.
Once a week, and how long?
And it's for 1 hour.
Well, no, but I mean, I'm sorry. The program itself is it?
The program. Okay, this program which starts on January the 30th runs for 5 weeks.
Okay. All right.
Through that time frame, with the coaches, and I'm going to talk about the coaches in a few minutes, and the participants, we decide in real time if we're going to continue. And so it's quite possible that the coaching side of this may go beyond the 5 weeks. But right now it's scheduled to go to start Wednesday, January the 30th, right through to the end of February. Participation from all walks of life. You have a lot of stories out there. Some of our participants couldn't play tennis when they were young for different reasons. Some, as they matured and were in a position to play, time didn't allow it, and now we have some participants 76, 78, 80 years old. To me, it's tremendously exciting because it's also like I'm going back to school because of what you learn from someone. I had this one gentleman, he's exactly 20 years older than myself, so he's 83 years old. He stops by and is telling me about how the trains, where the trains used to run, and a time of Bermuda that I didn't know. I wasn't here. So it's tremendous. And I was mentioning to a member of parliament the other day, we have to somehow bridge the gap and have them come and just sit up in the classroom and do a question and answer, because unfortunately when they leave us, a lot of that Earl goes with them.
That's true.
A lot of that Dawn goes with them, and there's no way to sit down and replay that video. Maybe that might be something else that we can talk about.
Sure.
But that's tremendous. Participation. His Excellency the Governor Rankin has participated. Former Speaker of the House, the Honorable Randolph Horton, stopped by a couple of times. Minister Zane De Silva, when Earl stopped by and interviewed us a couple of years ago before we got kicked off, has been out playing. And Minister Levita Fogo was with us last November, showing us her skills. Michael Dunkley, former Premier, has been playing with us, and one of our regulars now, Pat Gordon-Pamplin, who's a big tennis player / supporter.
I bumped into her before with the arm, but she's back.
But she's decent. She's got tennis, you know, and my wife and I bump into her all the time at the Open. You look around, there's the minister. There's a former minister. Again, thanks to national coaches, Mr. Terry Smith, Mr. Jerome Bradshaw, Mr. Earl Leader, Mr. Eugene Simmons, Ms. Jacqueline Lambert, along with a former #1 ranked player, Alden Daniels. Remember Alden Daniels in the 90s? Earl will tell you, he wasn't just winning his age group, he was winning the Open.
Yeah.
And then go and the next week play another tournament. So these highly certified coaches again have committed to donate their time. They're not charging us anything. So again, we're very, very fortunate. So and as we were saying, this coaching side of it starts this Wednesday, runs right through the whole month of February. And as I mentioned to Earl last time we were here, that we were working towards starting a league. And the league is scheduled to start Wednesday, March the 6th.
Wow.
At same time, at the same location. And what I brought today were 3 different balls that we'll be using. You could pass that to Earl.
Sure.
And that's a spinner ball. This is the red ball, and this is our standard yellow ball. And as you know, a standard tennis ball in the yellow one is what is on the circuit, and this ball here is 2 ounces. Right, that's a standard ball.
Wow.
And the red ball in your right hand, that's a ball that all the pros, even the Djokovic and the Serenas and Federers, all these pros carry these balls, because if you just had a tough match with Djokovic, you won. You're in the finals the next day. You're not going to warm up with this ball. You're going to warm up with an easy, light ball because how's your shoulders, how's your arms. You're not going to come out banging.
Work the kinks out.
Right.
Wow.
And then your physio is right there to work on something that doesn't feel just right. But they're not going to start off with a heavy ball. They're going to start light and then work their way through it. Wow. So these are balls that we've been using, not just with this particular group. All coaches use these on the island. But with the Bermuda Treasures program, we've been using these balls, and especially the red ball, that's used a lot with what you call mini tennis from service line to service line. And that's something that we'll be working with our players on Wednesday coming to let them know right from the start. We are now training this Wednesday, preparing you for March.
Right.
Wow. It's right where we're working towards progression. Right. So this is something that we've been talking about. Here we are. We're ready to go with it. I just had a chance to speak to Mike Wolf, the president of the BLTA. He was trying to get here today, but schedule's tight.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the BLTA, but I think he's going to give you a call. He wants to sit down with you and Earl and talk, but he'll take it from there. But Mike has been out, is well aware of this program, and we're encouraging, and we'll be talking to our members or the members of this program to join the BLTA to benefit from what they're offering. Sure. So it's a lot going on there. We're starting to make contact with our friend Katrina Adams, who you've seen on the television quite a bit. She was just traveling back from Australia. And these players that we're working with right now, Earl, will be in the 3.5 category at that level. So we are going to be talking about establishing some relationships with some clubs up in the New York area because it's a short hit. Right. And so that's something else that we're talking about. So there's a few things that are in the works. Right. And we're looking forward to having a good turnout on Wednesday and going forward.
Yeah. There's a gap. When I say a gap, if we look at competitive tennis now and what you're offering, there is a gap in between 35 or 30 to 50. Yes. How do we encourage that gap to close a bit?
I think this program here is one of the programs that are going to encourage people to come out. That between a 30 and 50, that is a busy time for a lot of people. Yes. Yeah. Working. And from talking to quite a few of our clients, you have to keep those leagues going. As you know, the federation's currently running Winter League as we speak right now. But that 30 age to 50, that's a busy time for a lot of people who are working. We still have to find a way to work on the aerobic tennis. That's something that's popular. I was talking to some of our clients the other day. A lot of them can they do something at lunchtime? Right. And so that is definitely a target that we have to address, and also listen to what they're looking for. Right. And that's why I said ask them, what do you want? They say, well, we're looking for a program. Tell us what type of program, because a lot of people, when they come out, they want to move. That's where you put on some music, you hit some balls, and after 45 minutes, you got a good workout. You jump in the shower, you go back to work, because that's what they're into between the age of 30 and 50. They're working.
But you see, when you have tournaments with age group, a lot of people tend to get involved. Yes. But when you just have open, they tend not to get involved because they don't want to be hitting.
Right, they don't want to play against the best player, and you're very, very true. And what we're working on is not just the age group, but also the level. Right. So the 3.5, 4.0, it starts at 2, and then from that, the consistency level puts you. 7 is Djokovic, Serena. That's a 7. Right. So
the league.
Of course, of course. Now,
no denying.
But and before I go, I definitely want to officially invite Earl, you and Ian and Dawn out to one of these sessions. We're sorry we missed you back in November. We know you're trying to come because some information got to us. Right. But we have to somehow have you out one day. We're working on a couple of things because, as you know, the federation is currently in the schools. And that's been going on 15 to 20 years. It's been out there for a while. And again, we're working on merging some of our students in the school program with our players in the Bermuda Treasures program.
Okay.
So that's another project that we're working on. But coming back, Earl, to what you were saying about that 30 to 50, we have to be receptive, listen to what they want, and offer it.
Right.
And that's something that
would add some continuity to the game. We take it from a lot of people starting at like 16, right through, but then they have that fall off until what you guys are offering.
And you're right. And if we sat down and you have all the records, if 4 of us sat down and looked at how many really top juniors came through 15, 20 years ago, that puts us right in that conversation between 30 and 50. And where are they? They're doing very well in their job. They have a family. They can't always come and play after work because they got to pick up the children. So that this is all real information. But you're right. That's something that we have to address.
Cool. Well, Mr. Lambert, thank you very much for joining us. Any final comments you'd like to add before we wrap up before our next guest comes in?
Well, we always like to thank you and Earl and Dawn for having us. I can't stress enough the appreciation of our sponsors and all of our coaches, and we are very excited with the fact that this program has been very well received. And again, thank you, and we will be in touch, and hopefully in the next 3 to 5 weeks arrange for you to stop by and see what we're doing.
You never know, it might take a little hit.
Of course, well, we have to bring in ESPN.
You heard it from
I said you never know.
No.
I didn't say I said we.
I'll bring my camera.
Bring your camera.
Not me.
Well, we have to somehow during Earl Bazin's report, his sports report, which I listen to religiously every morning, we got to somehow put Ian Rollins in there and say and Ian Rollins won his match yesterday at the WELJ Tennis Stadium. Come out. Hello. But I know Ian said, hey, you said 50. I'm like another 16 years to go.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
16 years to go. All right.
But like I said, and we'll talk later another day about the Celebrity Classic and other things. So it's a lot. There's a lot of things moving right now. So
there you go.
Thanks for having us.
Not a problem. We'll take a commercial break and be back after this. Welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Sienna Barton. I got it right.
Nice
I got it right.
You have to say that really, really quick.
I did. Ask me 5 minutes from now.
No. We're just going to keep it the one good time.
Good afternoon to you. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks.
Good.
How are you guys?
Great.
Did you guys jump into the new year?
No, I couldn't. I had surgery around that time, so no, it wasn't jumping. You jumped into the new year.
Obviously.
Obviously, you're right. Obviously.
Come on, jumping for joy, jumping for life.
That's ongoing. You're hard. You got your annual event coming up, the midterm break February. Bermuda Jump Rope Federation is obviously out there. You've been doing this now for quite some time. What's in store for 2019 after February? Tell us about February and beyond February 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of things coming up. The sport is continuously growing, so that's a beautiful thing. For all those that do not know, jump rope has been made a sport on island, and we are going out for our recognition to be a recognized national sport governing body. Yeah, so big things are happening in the world of jump rope, and not skipping. Always make that so clear, because we have a big thing on island where people don't give value to learning jump rope because they think anybody can skip. Well, I'm here to tell you, just like anybody can hopscotch, anybody can skip. Right. Not everybody can jump rope. So there is a clear definition that we are still working to change the mentality of on island, because we do some awesome things in our camps. So even before our February camp, did everybody know that there is no school this Friday for public school kids?
No, I didn't know that.
If parents, if you have not called yet the Department of Education, please let me tell you, there is no school for public school kids this Friday. So if I have just alerted you, well, please listen. Why? Bermuda Union of Teachers 100th anniversary. Yeah. Okay, so shout out to all teachers. You don't get enough respect as it is. So you guys enjoy your day and give your kids to me. So we will happily take them. If parents don't want their kids jumping on their furniture, drop them off at Victor Scott, and we are doing day camps. Okay. So our sport is really trying to spread awareness as much as possible and take any opportunity to show kids as much as we can. So when we found out schools were going to be closed last Friday and this Friday, we said, why not? And Victor Scott, shout out to them. They're an awesome school that hosts our program throughout the year. And we are having a camp from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. all day. So for $50, you can drop your kids off, not worry about them. And we entertain them with single rope, jump rope, gymnastics, double dutch, games. We really try and make a big push on being inclusive, being different, getting the kids to be a little bit weird. Because we all know as Bermudians, we judge a lot. Let's not even be coy about it. Bermudians are some judgmental people. And I think it's indoctrinated into us from young. So if we get our kids to embrace each other's weirdness, embrace the fun, embrace just being kids, it has always turned out to be a really fun environment. So we take any child 6 years old and up, and last Friday we had 26 kids, and we had 6-year-olds up to 14-year-olds, and it was an awesome, awesome fun time. So again, if you're looking for something to do, because there is no school on Friday, Victor Scott, 8:30 to 5:30, we are doing jump camp, and it's almost a prelude to our February big one. Right. And
I was going to ask you about that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So we always do a big thing in February, as we were founded through the Bermuda Heart Foundation. And their Heart Month is always in February, so we always do something to help empower their message of cardiac fitness and heart health. So what we are doing this year is we are bringing in overseas staff, phenomenal staff. This one young man's name is Stuart Isaacs. I say young man, he's I think 24 now. Used the sport of jump rope as the substance of his scholarship applications to Stanford, got a full ride. Went to Stanford on a full ride, not athletically because they don't deem that, but because of his grades alone and how that helped and everything that jump rope has given him, from world travel to staffing to leadership opportunities. He got a full scholarship to Stanford. Went to Stanford, started a jump club that is now participating in the collegiate jump competitions around the U.S., and said, okay, I'm going to do it one more time. And now is doing his master's at MIT and used jump rope as the substance of his scholarship there. And MIT has also done a documentary on him with jump rope in his pursuit of aerospace engineering. So he will be down here, and it is absolutely amazing. So we are so excited to have Stuart Isaacs come back to Bermuda, because this will be his second or third time coaching our kids, along with some other overseas coaches that are world champions. And they bring a different dynamic to our Bermudian youth. We get to see a level of the sport that they are not used to. They get to be coached in a manner that we are not aware of on island. And they also bring just different perspectives and fun games that we can play during camp. So last year we had roughly 60 kids sign up for our midterm camp after some good radio spots, Sports Talk Radio. And we had slow sign up at the beginning, but we came out with a really strong showing, and I'm really appreciative of that. And we picked up some new athletes.
Wow.
So this year we're looking to do the same. Our midterm camp goes from February 11th to the 15th, and I believe that spans private and public schools. I believe they all have the same midterm break. So we are just looking for anybody who wants to sign up. Now this is where we go into value. You're not paying for skipping, you're paying for jump rope.
Correct.
Because when you put a cost to our sport specifically, people have the hardest time in understanding.
Right.
You know, if it's netball, football, or anything else, it's like, yeah, sure, here you go. Here's money, fine. Like, you don't blink. Rugby, netball, sailing, they don't blink. When you say jump rope, they're like, why am I paying for skipping? Because you're not. You are not paying for skipping. You are paying for the value of this brand new global sport that has deep roots in Bermudian traditions. So it's sort of like a no-brainer, something that enhances the cardiovascular health of anybody who participates, something that can cross-train any athlete in any endeavor that they are wishing to do, something that speaks to kids that are not physically apt, or the kids that do not excel in PE or even want to do it, kids that have ADHD, kids who are problems in classes. You put a rope in any of their hands, and it's an instant equalizer. And instantly it provides something for that unique individual, a challenge, a focus tool, something to get them fit. There are so many different ways that the rope can be used that we are trying to get people to understand the value.
Right. We've interviewed you one or two different occasions. And one thing you did is you brought in some of your athletes who did testimonial, or I mean by the athletes, the students.
Yes, sir.
And a few of them said they were shy, and the shyness has come out. They speak well, they deliver well, they love the sport. They also had the opportunity to go overseas and represent Bermuda and see what it's like competing with international athletes. And it was an eye-opener, but the experience just being there and the value of it all comes to light. I think people here in Bermuda don't understand it, and they can't envision what it brings to the table. Is that a challenge for you to explain to people what it brings?
It's a very vast challenge to explain, because honestly, and I think Earl may understand because he's seen a bunch of our shows and seen some of our showcases from overseas people. When you see the sport done in its true competitive nature and element, it is jaw-dropping. It is nothing less than outstanding or exemplary. You cannot find enough adjectives to show just how positive yet intensely competitive it is. And somebody said it to me a few days ago. They said, nobody will ever have the appreciation of what your students or jumpers can do until you have slow-mo on a big screen. Because when you watch these jumpers go in all of their speed, in all of their intricacy, in all of they're focused and they're hitting these skills on a regular, you were just sitting there wowed, but the idea of how intricate and difficult it is astounds you until you see it on a mass scale. And then you cannot just help but have appreciation for the sport. We are looking to host the Pan American Games in 2021 for jump rope, and I think that would be a fantastic opportunity for the island to truly get behind it, because the countries that are right now blowing up in this sport and really starting to dominate are those countries that are, one, with the sport recognized, and two, have support. You know, it's just like any other sport. Football on island thrives. Rugby on island for the last few years, decade, has started to thrive because they have sponsorship, they have funds, and they have support behind them. I think until we can get a good switch or momentum on the wave of changing the mindset of Bermudians on what this sport can deliver to young men as well as young women, because on our national team right now, the 4 elite jumpers we have are 3 male and 1 female. Yeah.
Oh.
The past 3 captains we've had of our team have all been male. You know, it's something where I'm tired of hearing that skipping is for sissies, you know, because I hear it often. Yeah, and, you know, people have reactions and they're like, no, not today. I'm like, you mean not yesterday, the day before, or how many times have I heard it today? It's still a connotation that's very much out there, but once you see the power involved, and like you said, once you visualize it and you can see it, there's no way you can question it. So it's just a matter of asking people to have a bit more of an open mind before just canceling something out. Or if your son comes up to you and says, I want to go to jump rope camp, and you instantly say no because your son is asking you to go to jump rope camp. Because I have kids coming up to me and say, oh, well, my daddy don't think I can do jump rope because it's for girls.
That's not the case.
No.
In the camp, are you choreographing routines, or are they just free form?
So great question. One thing we really pride ourselves on in our midterm camps, because we have the time with the week, is we put together a showcase at the end of it. So every Friday at the end of camp, we always invite parents to come and see a workshop that we have, not a workshop, a showcase that we have put together throughout the week, where the kids have their own individual skills that they show off. They have group routines that they put together, and then they also work with our Burmese bouncers that give them different elements like double dutch or an egg beater where ropes cross, different things like that. So parents can come in and not only see the kids that were at the camp, but they get to see our national team members compete, perform, and they also get to see the overseas jumpers showcase, because this year our Bermudian children will be traveling to Norway. Oslo Ford, Norway, for the global competition, you know, and it just continues to add. Before then, we're going to Nashville for the American Jump Rope Skills Workshop and Invitational that we've been invited to. And I'll be quite frank, I am wanderlust for days. I cannot stay still for the life of me. Wanderlust meaning I just need to travel and experience life and just cultures, different cultures. And so to me, the passion of traveling and the passion of jump rope just goes hand in hand with the growth of this sport. So I think one of the most beneficial things we can give Bermudian children, honestly, outside of a passion to pursue, is travel.
What would you consider some of your obstacles in the way of hosting the 2021 Pan American Skipping Championship?
Government. That is like my biggest obstacle.
When you say government, you mean any government?
I mean government support in Bermuda. It is, in order to host something like the Pan American Games, we will need a cross-ministry collaboration. You know, we will need sport, we will need tourism. It also hits on health and education. And in working with government, it is like one step forward, 5 leapfrogs back every time you do something. And it's just trying to find different ways to communicate that new sports should be given enough or as much clout as dominating ones. You are never going to widen your reach of athletes on the island or expand your healthy culture if you never look into the offset areas where people are lying. So the IJRU, which is the International Jump Rope Union, the global governing board of jump rope, registered with the highest sporting authorities, wants to do it here.
So they want Bermuda to host the event?
They want Bermuda to host the event. I have been requested to host the event a couple of times. We started talks with Minister Weeks, and hello there, sir, but he's no longer in. You know, we've sat down with Minister Fogo to no avail thus far. We are continually trying to get into with the Bermuda Tourism Authority. You know, we work with health on within our school programs, and we are very appreciative to Marie Beach and her team for, you know, we are part of the Premier Youth Council and things like that. But to get this sport growing, do you know we had no sponsorship for our ropes this year? Like put out to government and private sectors, and we provide all of the ropes to all public schools. We provide ropes to all schools to use for after school or to use in their classrooms. Nobody has come forward to help us just sponsor ropes. And the ropes that the schools have are broken or they don't have anything. So here you have jump rope, just a fundamental thing that is on the physical education curriculum, and schools don't have ropes. And so we've had to buy them. We're a fledgling charity ourselves. And, you know, we're trying. So now here's this global governing body. We want you to host the Pan American. And we're like, we can't even get money for ropes. So we have a lot.
I'm about to say, yeah.
So there's a couple of different ways we can do it in regards to creating environments, tented environments. One of the first things I said to the board of IJRU when they asked me, they were like, we want to host the Pan American in Bermuda. I was like, we don't have facilities big enough. They said, you're not thinking outside of the box enough. So I had to think about that. And my answer is, if we can host and build stages above water and dockyard to host, you know, all these different things, why can't we use our beautiful brains to think about different ways to accommodate an event such as this? Because, you know, especially this, the Department of Youth and not Sports, but the sports ministry is going on a very big kick about Bermuda sports tourism, and going on in regards to just bringing teams down for spring practices and things like that. The U.S. is a big country with different climates. If teams want to go somewhere for spring practicing, it's probably a lot cheaper to do it somewhere in their own country. They need to think about different avenues on how to expand sports tourism. Creating bigger markets for sports conferences, which we do well, would be a great alternative. Hosting events like this of smaller sports, but something that we can possibly accommodate, another great avenue. It's just that when things are being done for the first time, they are a lot harder to push through because nobody has something to go off of. So with that extra work, it's sometimes very difficult to get people to actually just want to do it.
Okay. Well, any final questions before we wrap up now?
No, just a really quick highlight of this Friday's day camp at Victor Scott from 8:30 to 5:30, $50 drop-in. And our February midterm camp, February 11th to the 15th, and we have outstanding staff flying in. So if your kids want to jump in our halls and not all over your homes, please just go and find us on our social media sites at Jump Rope Bermuda, and you can always email us at bdajrf@gmail.com. If you have any questions, please shoot us an email or direct message us on any of our social media sites, and we would love to answer them. And just please remember, jump rope is not skipping.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to take one more commercial break before we wrap up for the day. We'll be back after this. Well, time flew.
Yes, it did.
12:15 started. Now it's just after 2. It's been an interesting debate today on Inside Sports Talk Radio. Various guests have come in. What I picked up today is that even with tennis, each event is giving something back to the community. So people say there's nothing to do. And then on top of that, each program is giving something internationally, from track and field to jump rope to tennis, obviously, but that's at the tennis stadium. And Cal Bankendale with Academy Development, right? So there are things that are out there, or events that are out there, organizations that are putting something back to the community, say, here's something for our young people, and yes, older people as well. And people say there's nothing to do. There's nothing going on.
There's a lot going on.
That's amazing.
Well, we all know people use a lot of excuses, but there's a lot going on. And if it doesn't tickle your fancy, just say, look, I'm not interested in that. But don't say there's nothing going on, because there's a lot.
That's right.
And believe it or not, we just had a weekend full of sports itself. But if you don't like a particular sport, or you're not interested in that sport, don't come out and say, oh, it's nothing to do.
That's true.
It's just, I'm not into that particular sport.
Yeah.
I'll go, if my sport's not on, then I choose not to go and watch another sport. Simple as that.
For sure. Well, thank you again for working with you today, sir.
No problem.
2019 is here. We have more guests joining us next week. We will have a health and fitness segment brought to you by August next week. Starting our new segment, and with Dave Wolf be a part of it as well. That will be every other week, so they'll be a part of that event. And of course, we have our trivia questions going on. And someone texted said, "Welcome back, Ian and Earl." So pass that on to you as well. Don Bassett, it's always a pleasure working with you, sir.
Anytime, any place.
All right, mate.
Let's say.
Cool. We'll be back next week. Next week's February.
Yeah.
February
4th. Already in 19.
Yeah. And Liverpool will still be on top of the league.
Okay.
Oh, we got to win tomorrow for us, I should say. That will help.
Even if you lose.
No, I don't say that.
Even if you lose, you still be on top of the 10.
Yeah,
well,
4
points,
points.
right?
Yeah, 4 points.
Yeah.
But I want to be by 7 tomorrow.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your day.